Well, good time zone, and welcome to the Chindividual plays a little bit of Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York. My name's Marcus, also known as the Chindividual. Pronouns are he, him, and I'm here on this Friday to get used to streaming on YouTube and also just having a bit of a chill old time and see how all of this stuff works. I did promise people, perhaps a little bit foolishly, that if I would reach 100 subscribers on my... So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to just see how this goes. So far, the only minor, messed up thing I had so far is that I didn't understand YouTube's backend interface to put the stream in and everything. I basically removed whatever I had set up earlier, and I just had to click all of that back together in 2 minutes. So if you encounter any typos in stream descriptions or the likes, that's it's totally not on me. That's on YouTube. Well, without further ado, we're going to play Vampire the Masquerade Coteries of New York, a kind of visual novel-esque game by draw distance set in the world of darkness. A world much like our own, however, also inhabited by creatures of the night like vampires. And that's what this game is about. It's about said vampires, their nocturne politics, and all other kinds of fun stuff that they are up to. Vampire the Masquerade as a setting, as a tabletop RPG setting, is probably one of my favorite settings ever, and that is very much related to the fact that it was Vampire the Masquerade that really got me deep into the hobby when I was an edgy, gothy teenager. So, with that being said, I have a lot of fondness for the setting, but I never got to play this game. I've played the hell out of other vampire video games, like Bloodlines, for example, but I never got to this series of games, which at this point has 3 games in its series. There's Coteries of New York, there's Shadows of New York, and then there's, I think it was called Requiem for New York, that recently was released. So I know a few of the characters in here, but I have no clue about the plots, no clue what's going to happen, and there's only one way to find out about that. It's by us clicking new game and seeing what's happening. So let's dive in. As you see, no save slots for me. I'm going to pick that first one, and we're already have to pick what kind of clan we want to play. In Vampire the Masquerade, your clan is like your vampiric lineage. Each clan has certain abilities called disciplines, and each clan also has a bane, a weakness that defines them. There's also a lot of stereotyping around clans. I think recent editions of the game try to open up the stereotypes a bit, but there's a certain image each clan has. Some of these stereotypes, well-deserved, others not so much, but we're going to see. So in this game, we can only pick one of 3 clans. In total, in Vampire the Masquerade, I think there's like 13 clans in total. And that's not counting bloodlines and other things. And we get to pick between, if I'm looking at the icons correctly, it's Bruja, Ventru, and Toreador. So the Bruja are the rabble rebel against power and rage, against authority. A seemingly insignificant man with significant ideas will join their ranks tonight. Okay, interesting. Ventru, the aristocratic blue bloods embody wealth, sovereignty, and control. A top-level corporate executive will join their ranks tonight. Okay, recruiting from the C-suit. And then we have to Toreador. The divas seek thrills of art, romance, and cruelty amid stagnant undeath. A tormented artist will join their ranks tonight. That one vibes with me. Toreador have a special place for me. The very first character I made for the Vampire the Masquerade tabletop RPG was a Toreador. I barely understood the game at that point. I just knew that the description of something like a tortured artist, a tormented artist, that vibe with edgy 15-year-old me. And so my very first Vampire the Masquerade character was a Toreador who used to be a journalist and poet in life. I played him for, I think, 4 or 5 sessions, and then I started running my own Vampire the Masquerade games, and I would not play a character of my own for years. So, yeah, very fun place, but I think for this one, I want to start with the Ventrue. I want to see what kind of story we get for someone who's from this business background and how that will influence the choices we're going to make in this game. Going for the Ventrue, clicking accept. Choose your name. They got a default for me here, Amanda. Amanda's a good name. Amanda is a good name. Let's go with that. All right. New York taught me to believe in fate. Had you asked me about fate back when I was a human, I would have told you it's just superstitious bullshit. We're all designers of our own destinies. That belief shattered when the richest woman in the United States, the actual richest one, not a face you could have seen in the papers, of course, sank her teeth deep into my neck. It happened in the very same place you're standing in right now, by the way. Fate? You decide. Please, there's absolutely no need to be hostile. Just listen a little longer. See, my mistake was that I flew too close to the sun. It makes sense that my punishment was to never see its glow again. I was incandescent myself. I was hot shit. I had it all. Money, looks, confidence, connections, men, women, a career, and a spark in my eye, the one you need to be born with. That's when someone far more powerful than me saw my radiance and thought, that won't do. She robbed me of the light erupting from within and gave me a subtle, enduring gleam in its place. She decided that would fit me much better. She was a 9th generation Kindred, just like you, an apex predator. She probably enjoyed teaching me the peak of human excellence, my real place in the food chain. It's such an eyesore when you look at some loudmouth braggart and see them for all they really are. The temptation to teach them a lesson can be unbearable, right? Well, my sire's lesson was a lesson about fate, a message saying you're eternally doomed to be at the mercy of your sovereigns. It almost drove me to destroy myself. What saved me was the ability to reinterpret her teachings. Hers wasn't a message of doom, it was a message of hope. Fate exists and one can shape it if given the right tools. My sire didn't believe my tools were fitting for the job. She considered them toys, and me, just her amusing subject. Well, she's deader than dead now, and I'm still here, standing right where she stood when we first met. You might have wondered how I learned about your arrival to JFK Airport. My answer is, of course, destiny. As luck would have it, today happened to be a day some of my associates were inspecting the coffins. Driving you here straight from the plane and having you wake up in such an unfamiliar place was a little desperate, and I do apologize for it. But it is so rare for you to visit New York. 3 times in the last 15 years, was it? You're never eager to inform me you're here. Wait, can I spacebar through things? Can I enter through things? No, gotta click. I understand you still have that meeting on 53rd Street later tonight, so I'll provide a comfortable transport. I value our relationship very much, don't get me wrong. But it is precisely because I value it that I'm going to ask you to repay the favor you owe me. You're the only one I trust to do the job well, and without attracting attention. You might think I'm crazy asking you to breach the rules of our society like this. You might think it is impossible to get away with it unpunished. But this is New York. And I don't know about other cities, but in this one, fate really exists. And right now, it's smiling in your favor. Oh, wow. This is how it begins. Your phone rings. It's your boss. Again. The setting sun that filled your high-rise office an hour ago is gone. The city looks like an ocean of light from up here, spreading for miles to the north. You pick up. You were about to call it a day. Forget about the world of fintech and decompress at home. No dies. Bro, this really is a world of darkness. My character is working in fintech. Wow. One of the investors wants to meet you. His voice is always the perfect mix of authority and sleaze. He'll come by your office in an hour. All right, how do you do a voice that is a combination of authority and sleaze? Look at the clock. An hour? He's got to be kidding. Yeah, I know, but stick around. He's a heavyweight. You want to make a good impression. Whew, not sure if that's sleazy enough. Fine. You grit your teeth a little. The boss hangs up. 2 hours, might as well pour another coffee into yourself and figure out how to best use this to your advantage. I don't know, don't work in financial technology. That would be one way. You suspect everyone knows that no, you're actually not happy with your current position. That in fact, you feel squished against the glass ceiling that comes with the territory. Sure, your idiot superior might have gotten the job only because he's the CEO's golfing buddy, but you're going to put an unholy amount of work into your advancement. Times were, you laugh off the idea of staying at the office until 9 p.m. You had a partner to go home to, the nightly Netflix and chill ritual to perform, complete with pizza or Chinese takeout. Girl living the life. Ever since you moved up the ladder, though, your hours have only gotten longer. Food? Mostly at the company cafeteria, sometimes takeout, always in a rush. You praise the heavens for your crazy metabolism and dread the day it finally decides to give up. Rest? At this point, the cleaning lady who takes care of your apartment probably spends more time in your bedroom than you do. You flash back to your boss quoting Shakespeare to impress his new, extremely attractive and uncomfortably young secretary. For some must watch while some must sleep, so runs the world away. Ugh. Wow. Drinks? Mostly with colleagues. And they all pretty much hate you at this point. Another flashback, this time to the most profitable quarter in the company's history. Still, the board decided that layoffs were in order. This game is from 2017. This world is still the same. Your boss didn't feel like letting people know in person, so he passed that privilege on to you. But I hand it to him. He always knew how to pick his battles. Maybe, just maybe, tonight is the night it's all going to change. You decide to play the good looks angle. Nothing too slutty. You leave your blouse slightly unbuttoned, check if your ass looks as good as you remembered in your pencil skirt. Mirror says yes. It's not something you're proud of, but you've become too jaded to care. Knowing your luck, the investor is going to be one of the two types: self-obsessed Musk wannabe in his 20s, or a fat old pervert drenched in cologne. You hear the elevator ding. Time to get this show on the road. You take one final look in the mirror and fix your hair as the footsteps echo across the empty hallway. The man who approaches your office is not what you expected. He's slick, to be sure. He seems a bit more refined than your usual company man. Expensive suit, matching tie and shirt, confident in his stride. Surprisingly good looking. Good evening. I hope this unforeseen visit isn't too much of an inconvenience. Okay, I was looking at his art, and at first legit didn't see his pupils. I guess they're like a silver blue color. Cool art. Really like the artwork. God, that voice. You're taken aback by how smooth and strong it is. And his eyes, steel blue. Ah, there we go, steel blue. Cold. Intense. He's all business. Professional. Treats you in a manner that's appropriate to your stature. When he speaks, he actually looks you in the eye and not at your cleavage. He asks some questions about your work, tells you how he noticed your input after talking to the CEO, another golfing buddy, and comes charmingly close to calling your boss an incompetent doofus. Nothing more bonding than complaining about your boss together. All the while, you try to guess his accent but can't quite place it. European, sure, but where from? When in doubt, Belgium. I know I've kept you long enough, but would you indulge me and join me for a drink? Of course. For a minute there, it seemed like he wasn't that kind of guy. But what the hell, you go with it. He seems nice enough. Besides, it's not like you have other plans. The investor has a limo waiting downstairs, and the driver takes you to a high-end restaurant in Williamsburg. A seat is waiting for you in the deluxe lounge. Just the two of you. You talk about this and that. Your companion seems to have a knack for history. So tell me, what would you do if you had full control of the company? You almost choke on your wine. This is your chance. You say what's been on your mind for a month, but hide it behind a veneer of professional corpo babble. Refocusing. Listening to your instincts for once. Restructuring. Kicking out your boss. Aggressively pursuing new markets. Getting the hell away from all these horrible people. He likes the sound of that. He leans forward. His eyes flash with intensity and something else. Strange emotion that wasn't there before. You'll do just fine. Oh shit, that actually spooked me a little bit. See? It's already stuff like that that gets me spooked, and we're not even playing the actual creepy games. His words echo inside your head as you black out. You wake up, God only knows how much later. As you try to piece together what happened, you hear a familiar voice. The investor, or whoever the hell he is, talking to someone. You suddenly recall snippets, fragmented memories. His sapphire eyes intently locked with yours. His teeth suddenly longer and sharper. Something else. Feeling on your neck that takes you back to your last orgasm. A company trip to Florida, a sweaty room, the cutie from HR who doesn't work there anymore, and then darkness. Yes, I'm done here. Consider my debt paid. The investor pushes the other figure aside and walks away from the lounge, barely bothering to look at you. The door locks behind him. Some time passes before you find the strength to get up from the couch. You touch your lips. Blood. Did that asshole hit you? You try to stand up, but your head is pounding and your stomach is like a heavy knot, pulling you down. You didn't have that much to drink. He must have spiked your wine. This is bad. You frantically check your clothes. Pristine. Doesn't make any sense. All of a sudden, a feeling hits you unlike anything else you've ever felt before. You fall to the floor, writhing in an all-encompassing pain and hunger. The kind that makes your insides burn. That cannot be denied. You try to calm yourself down with a breathing exercise they taught you at some bullshit mindfulness course. That's when it hits you. You're not breathing. Holy shit, your heart should be jumping out of your chest with that realization. But it's not moving. Not even a beat. The door unlocks. You hear a startled voice. A young man in a waiter's outfit, his accent thick with an Eastern European harshness, leans over and asks if you're all right. For a brief moment, you wonder what the hell he's doing here. Everything is wrong. Then his smell reaches your nostrils. It's intoxicating. Everything feels right again. He holds out his arm to help you stand up. You grab it, firmly, with both hands. And then you bite down. You sink your teeth right next to the old school pin-up tattoo of Rita Hayworth on his forearm. It takes you a moment to process what you're doing. Part of you wants to break away. A stronger voice implores you to keep drinking. One thing becomes clear. You are definitely enjoying this. He only struggles a little and quickly falls to his knees. You can see his eyes now, pale blue and confused. You only bring yourself to let him go once he collapses onto the floor. Your bite leaves a mess of his forearm. Poor Rita, all bloodied, missing half her face. Did you just drink this guy's blood? You spit out a piece of torn flesh. That's, why? Where? What was in that wine? Barely able to focus your heart and your lungs still motionless, you reach for your phone and dial 911. 911 operator, what's your emergency? Okay, my heart stopped. I can't breathe. I killed somebody. Okay, I think out of the things that the 911 operator could most directly help me with is that my heart stopped. My heart, it's not beating. Ma'am, where are you right now? The door to the lounge swings open. The man who enters is not the one that brought you here, though there are similarities. He's tall for one, broad-shouldered, handsome, dressed in an immaculate suit. But his skin is darker, and the look on his face tells you he's not here to negotiate a deal. He notices the smartphone in your hand. Pass me that phone, if you want to live. The man's voice is persuasive, calm, but carrying clear threat. He's got the aura of a viciously efficient corporate shark. You find it hard to argue with him. Ma'am? Hello? I apologize for wasting your time. My new colleague got drunk and is now trying to impress everyone with her antics. Good night. He disconnects the call and places your phone in his pocket. For whatever reason, you can barely take your eyes off the stranger. As hypnotizing as his presence is, though, it is also highly discomforting. Good evening, miss. I'm here to pick you up. Who are you? Pick me up, call an ambulance. Yeah, I'm worried about the guy I just bit. Call an ambulance. Please, you need to call an ambulance. Someone else is taking care of that. The stranger approaches the waiter and examines his body. Critical condition, but he might live. Anyway, he then sets his sights on you. I know this is all new to you, but I've dealt with the hundreds of strays like you. And going by experience, they tend to fall into two categories. First, They're the smart ones who carefully obey my every word and don't try to pull off anything stupid. I always get them where they need to be, safe and sound. And then there are the dumb ones, the punks who thought they could take me on, the wise guys who tried to contact somebody secretly and without permission, the troublemakers who tried to run off or make a scene. None of them got to their destination in one piece. In fact, most of them never reached their destination at all. His voice becomes slightly bored and monotone. You can tell he's given this speech before, likely dozens of times. So you see, while I generally consider myself pretty smart, I'm also a Mets fan. It's my one true weakness. One that inspired me to come up with 3-strike system when dealing with pups like you. I don't know enough about baseball. The Mets are a baseball team, right? And I'm assuming 3-strike system, that's a baseball reference. Stranger is making a reference that's totally lost on me. If you get on my nerves once or twice, well, I understand. Not all of us perform well in stressful situations. But cross me 3 times and you're out. No excuses, no forgiveness, no mercy. As he's talking, he slowly approaches you, adding a bit of a theatrical swagger to his walk. Eventually, he leans in, deliberately invading your personal space. You realize it's a test. He's daring you to do something about it. 3 strikes, and you're out. Say, I understand, sir. Now. Every atom of your being screams for you to obey his authority. Whew, I understand, sir. Fuck you, sir. What are you even talking about? He seems like he's business, but I don't like his approach here. Fuck you, sir. I only address my superiors as sir. Respectfully. Fuck you. Strike 1. And watch the language, well. Okay. Moving on. Is there anyone you'd want to inform of your current situation? Tell them you're all right? He flashes his fangs briefly, and for some reason the sight sends a chill down your spine. There's something very wrong about him. Someone closest to you? I don't want to let my boss wouldn't give a shit. There's no one. I'd rather not answer. No one. No, I don't have anyone. The stranger squints at you. No family, no lover, no friends, nothing. A job. Your blank stare tells him the whole story. He immediately stops prying and gives you something even worse than a look of pity. A look of honest compassion. Well, that makes things simpler. But let me be crystal clear just in case. From this point on, you are subject to different laws than the ones you grew up under, and you'll be watched by many eyes to ensure these laws are respected. You are forbidden from letting anyone know you're still alive. You are forbidden from showing your face anywhere they know you. If anyone comes looking for you, it's over for both you and them. Now practice tone again. You put on your poker face and listen in silence. So unless you want your boss to end up at the bottom of the Hudson, I suggest you cooperate. Don't tempt me. He smiles, revealing his fangs again. There's something absolutely sickening about it. Suddenly you feel overwhelmed by a sense of exhaustion. You pass out. When you regain your senses, you find yourself in the stranger's arms. The man is holding you as you would a spouse who's had a little too much to drink. Try to break free, but he holds you close and gives you a cautioning look. Only when he sees you're struggling does he let you go. Only now do you notice the change in scenery. You find yourself in a fancy lobby right next to the elevator. The place is virtually empty, save for a single concierge and some cleaning staff. Your companion gestures at the concierge as you pass, and he picks up the phone. The elevator arrives, the door opens, and the man motions towards the cabin. After you. I'm not going anywhere. I think that deep down you know that's not true. Trust me, you don't want to make this difficult. Just get in. I don't know what game you're playing, but I've had enough. I demand you let me go immediately, or there will be consequences. He hesitates for a moment. A very brief moment. The only consequence here is another strike on your record. Oh, I'm at 2 strikes. Wait. We're just 5 minutes in. I got 2 strikes with Mr. Handsome, but also very intimidating guy. Get in the elevator. I won't ask you again. Okay, yeah, I'm going in there. Going against your instincts, you enter the cabin. Smooth jazz is playing over the speakers as the elevator starts its descent. You're dazed, panicky, but somehow locked in place. On the one hand, you find the stranger's presence oddly soothing. On the other, you can feel your body tensing up with stress. You can't help but think back to the young waiter, the doe-eyed look on his face, the confused look he gave you just before. No, it's better not to think about it. Plus, you have other things to worry about, like the fact that you're being kidnapped. The cabin door opens to the same garage you arrived at with the investor some hours ago. The man shows you a black Cadillac Escalade. Good taste. I know what you're thinking. Getting into a car with some strange man? Boy, sure seems like a dumb idea. Maybe I can make a run for it. I might be able to lose him. So let me be perfectly clear. Your best bet is to get in, relax, and enjoy the ride. The waiter. Do you think that waiter upstairs is going to be all right? Yes. You look him in the eyes and can immediately tell he's lying. No more questions. Get in the car, please. Seems like the worst idea ever, but the man's made it very clear that you have no choice in the matter. Yep, are you going to hurt me is a legit question here. No, not tonight. At the very least. Unless you make me. He takes a glance at his expensive-looking watch. Listen, you really need to quit stalling. We're on a bit of a schedule here. Sun comes up in about 2 hours, and I don't intend to be here when it does. Sun? What does it matter when the sun comes up? You really don't know, do you? Good thing I got here when I did. He opens the car door and gestures towards it. You see no point in delaying the inevitable, so you get in. The door locks behind you. Cadillac is almost entirely dark. Side windows seem light-proof. The man gets into the driver's seat, starts the engine, and drives away without another word. Please, tell me, is this all some kind of sick joke? He sighs. Not a joke, not a prank. You're not on candid camera. The sooner you come to accept it, the better. Listen, I realize you have many questions. Tomorrow, you will get some answers. But tonight, you need to do what I say. And right now, I need some quiet, please. You feel too confused to protest. You stay silent for the rest of the ride, even as more questions bubble up to the surface. One of them being, did you actually kill someone tonight? Staring out the window, you find it hard to focus and quickly lose track of where you're headed. You can only tell that you have not left Manhattan. Another underground parking. Almost featureless, empty. The car stops, and the man opens the door for you. We're here. Stranger walks you to a nearby door. He opens it and motions at you to get in. Go on in. Make yourself comfortable. If you get hungry again, take a look in the fridge. We'll pick you up tomorrow, and you will get your answers. Behind the door is a small room. No windows, just a simple bed and a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. A small fridge is humming away in the corner, accompanied by a rattling AC fan in the wall. You're leaving me here? That's it? Just gonna leave me here? That's it. For now, at least. Look, this room is your best chance of seeing another night. I realize you've been put in a problematic situation, and it's not entirely your fault. Cooperate, and you might still make it. You will learn more tomorrow. But for the time being, get in and get cozy. He gestures inside the room. I could still see if I can try to escape here, but honestly, I have a feeling that either I'm getting a third strike here, and he's just gonna whoop my ass, or we're gonna be steered into that direction anyway. I'm gonna step into the room. You step inside. The stranger nods. What a charming place to be. Unbelievable. There is indeed, there's a fan here. It does have a fridge, and there is some reading material. Hopefully the books are good. Good night. He locks the door behind you. It looks very secure. Oh, he's just locking me in here. Wow. You open the fridge. There's a single plastic bag there filled with red liquid, no label. Tomato soup? You feel sick to your stomach. Best to leave it for now. You lie down on the bed. It's a simple mattress on a metal frame. At least it's not too filthy. You think back to how this evening began. This investor, is he friends with the dark-skinned stranger who picked you up from the restaurant? What happens now? Unable to relax, you spend an hour or so playing out various scenarios in your head. Eventually, you decide to give in and let exhaustion take over. Whatever tomorrow brings, you'd rather face it well rested. Plus, there's no way in hell your boss isn't going to notice your absence tomorrow. That, and maybe some of the restaurant staff will feel a pang of conscience. Someone will notify the police. Someone will find you. Right? You flash back to the waiter's tattoo. The bloody Rita Hayworth winking at you over a pale mess of a wound. You did this. You bit him. Drank his blood. And it tasted good. What if you can never go home again? You are so tired. Your entire body tenses up one last time, and before you know it, you drift away into oblivion. And you wake up. That in itself is a surprise. You barely remember when you drifted off. It didn't feel quite like sleep, more like plummeting into an endless void. You imagine that's what death feels like. The room is unchanged. The lamp is still on, the AC is still rattling, the refrigerator is still humming. Take a look at your watch. It's almost 9 p.m. You slept for 17 hours straight. Maybe you died? Your breath is gone and you feel no thumping in your chest. Does that qualify as dead if you're still conscious? I think it's more undead, but we're kind of working towards that point. You're not sure about that, but you're certain about one thing. You are hungry. It's not your stomach rumbling, though. It's a need that starts somewhere in your abdomen and spreads to your chest, throat, and back of the head. You open the fridge. The bag is still there. You take a closer look at it. If it is soup, then its color and texture are off. You pull the cork out, take a whiff. You recognize the smell immediately. Holy shit. There's no mistaking it. It's bagged blood. The smell is faint, and you remember some situations in the past where you found it nauseating, but now it's almost... No, not almost. It is enticing. Put the bag back, drink the blood. Look, we're going full vamp here. Gonna drink it. It feels wrong right now. There's barely anything in your life that doesn't. To hell with it. You pour a bit of the liquid into your mouth. It tastes like shit. It's coppery, thick, and clings to your tongue and the inside of your mouth like a film of dirt. You swallow hard regardless. It tastes foul, but somehow you kind of want more of it. As you take a second sip, sucking the blood out of the bag, you feel something pull on your insides. You double over. You're going to barf. You instinctively cover your mouth, looking for a place to vomit. Before you find it, a dark red wave washes over your hand and fingers. It hits the floor, splattering in huge, thick drops. You keep heaving for a moment longer. Nothing is coming out. Not blood, not bile, not even spit. But still something in your body wants to push it out. Push it all out, every last drop. As you recover, trying to wipe droplets of regurgitated blood from your dress, you hear the lock click and see the door open. Standing there is the well-dressed stranger you met yesterday. Immaculate suit again. Predatory look like a hawk on a hunt. But somehow more relaxed tonight. So, like a tamed hawk, maybe. Good evening. How was... He notices the spatter, your red hand, the sick look on your face. He barely contains a smirk. Oh. Was the catering unable to satisfy your exquisite taste? Apologies. Oh, now I get it. Oh, I'm a Ventru. Yes, this makes sense. Okay, yeah, I was thinking, why is she throwing up? But, so the game will probably explain this later, but every clan in Vampire the Masquerade has a weakness, kind of a bane. And for the Ventru, it's that they cannot actually go and they cannot drink other people's. They can only drink blood from a specific group. So they literally have a type of who they can drink blood from. And if they drink blood from someone who does not meet those criteria, they have to throw it up again. So the Ventru actually have a very limited group that they can actually drink from. I totally forgot that. And this hawk-eyed stranger is reminding me of it. Let's carry on. Yeah, that was foul. It was terrible. Probably the worst thing I've ever tasted. Aren't we picky eaters? Spare me your complaining. Come on, we've got places to be. I should have some water and a towel in the back of the car so you can clean yourself up. Car is humming. The empty parking lot just outside the door of the cramped room you've spent the day in. The man motions to it politely, but with a stern look on his face. I can try to hijack the car. Now, at this point, we're so far in, I want to see how this is going. I think if I had picked one of the other options, or if I ever run this again, I want to see what happens if you hijack the car or rush the stranger. And I don't want to have my choices be too influenced by my meta knowledge of what's going on, but I'm going to get inside the car. It's not like I have a choice, right? Damn straight, girl. Correct. But your cooperation is appreciated, nevertheless. You take the back seat again. The doors lock, the stranger takes the wheel and starts the car. Drive in silence for a while. From time to time, you keep trying to catch glimpses of familiar streets or landmarks throughout the blackened window, but stuff of little use. The car is also soundproofed, so all you can hear is a bit of traffic humming and the car's engine. The driver doesn't say anything and seems focused on the road. You check the door handle. Yeah, the door is locked all right. A piece of dark glass separating you and the front of the car looks sturdy too. There's nothing left to do but wait. You didn't have time to think about it before, but you realize that you're hungry? No, not exactly. It's not a rumbling stomach that grabs your attention. It's a need that starts somewhere in your abdomen and spreads to your chest, throat, and back of the head. You become restless. This is essentially a kidnapping. Whatever this guy says about its purpose, it doesn't change the fact you're being held against your will and you're not used to following orders when you can't delegate them to somebody else. You feel a need to get a semblance of control of the situation, so you decide to prove yourself useful. Okay, how am I going to score points with this guy? I think this stranger is the kind of guy who's most interested in the skills you have to offer. Not the people you know, but the skills you have to offer. So we're going to try that route. Listen, I'm an investment advisor and I have a lot of experience in fintech. Whatever your organization is, it might find use for me. I don't even have any idea what fintech is, and honestly, I don't care to find out. Okay, yeah. To be fair, the less you know about it, the better. A short pause. I'll be frank. Currently, you're in no position to offer anybody anything. The sooner you accept that, the better. Ridicule his lack of ambition. Yes, that's what I'm gonna do. Big word from somebody's dedicated errand boy. I wonder if you've ever achieved anything. Ooh. You push the right buttons. He gives you an absolutely furious stare through the rearview mirror. For a second, you spot a crack in his professional demeanor. You don't know anything about me. You have no idea where I'm coming from or where I'm headed. For a few seconds, he quietly fumes. Ooh. Your attitude won't help you make any friends, and in your current position, you definitely need some. Consider that, preferably in silence. The dull hunger strikes again. The powerlessness hurts. You are used to people listening to you, or pretending to care about your demands at least. The driver doesn't play that game, and it annoys you to no end. It takes you another 20 or so minutes to get to your destination. As the door opens, you try to get your bearings. You're still in New York, that much is certain. Queens, maybe? After me. No sudden movements, please. You approach a nice-looking building that houses a two-story gallery called the Art Hole. Two large men in suits flank the door on both sides, and they give your companion a nod as you approach. Prompted by the stranger guiding you, you walk inside. The gallery is full, which is unusual at this hour, to say the least. About 24 faces fill the showroom, and a number of waiters navigate the gathering, serving drinks. All of them are beneath the guests' attention. The visitors are well dressed for the most part, but it's unclear what they have gathered for. Nobody seems to be particularly interested in the art pieces on the walls, and the atmosphere is polite, unnaturally so. Many guests turn to look at you and the stranger who brought you here. Their glances are varied. You see open contempt on a few faces and animated interest on others. Most of the eyes in the room calmly observe you, as if wishing to appraise your worth. This reminds you of your company meetings. Yeah. You, the only woman in the room, silently judged none of her merits, but her standing on the list. Past and clandestine email threats between your male co-workers. Until HR found out, that is. That is absolutely disgusting. Not the most pleasant experience, but there's no denying it taught you resilience. When others would cower, you now straighten up. When others would turn their gaze, you meet the eyes of the gallery's guest with confidence. Good evening, Kadir. And to you, child. The noble, cold voice takes you out of your head and back to the situation at hand. The gallery, a crowd of strangers. You being brought here against your will. For what purpose? The room awaits your response. Yeah, that child been like, excuse me, what? You're calling me a kid? The Prince of New York City, Helen Panard. Helen? Going with Helen. Helen Panard, child of Michaela, is addressing you, whelp. My sheriff, this harshness is unnecessary. This fledgling has every right to be confused. She is somewhat plain-looking and doesn't seem to possess a great deal of charm, but still the entire room is intently focused on her voice. She has influence over these people. That much is clear. You may address me as Prince, child. I realize your introduction into unlife was abrupt and understand your sire left shortly after. The rules of our society dictate I punish you both for this transgression. A murmur of agreement, maybe, can be heard from the gathered audience. But I'm willing to listen to what our loyal sheriff has to say about the circumstances of your embrace first. Man, this has got to be such a terrible situation. Then you have no clue of what's going on, and there's all these people talking about the situation who apparently know more about it, and you just don't know what's happening. Yeah, embrace? Is that a euphemism? Is that what you call drugging a woman and raping her in a private lounge? And you want to punish me for it? The embrace is much more than that. I shall inquire about how it happened later. First, we need to hear what the sheriff has to say. You're about to be judged by the Court of New York City. Kadir, please tell us how you found this fledgling and what happened on your way here. Court? Prince? Is this some kind of secret society make-believe? Well, not far off. It sure is secret society, and some of it sure feels like make-believe. A trusted informant who has chosen to remain anonymous at this time tipped me off about a suspicious kindred appearing in one of our domains. Upon investigating, I found them gone, but this fledgling remained in their place. A reservation made in the private lounge of the patrician suggests that this one's sire had plenty of resources to spend. However, they are apparently also well connected. I lost track of them. Despite some reservations, she offered little resistance last night and cooperated on her way to the safe house. I was pleased to not have to force her compliance. Opening the door to the safe house tonight, I was greeted by a most disturbing sight of her drenched and regurgitated blood. Apparently, the bag supply we kept in the fridge was not to her liking. The remark elicits a contemptuous chuckle from one of the gathered guests as they note the remains of the blood on your skirt. It was not an elegant sight, but that hardly matters, I suppose. Moving on. We had a quick chat, but wishing to appear here post-haste, I urged her to join me, which she did without struggle. A pleasant departure from my usual routine, I must say. During her drive here, she showed me her fangs, metaphorically speaking, posturing as if we were equals, insulting me when it didn't work. I refrained from causing her physical harm, but I expect her ego might still be a bit bruised. He looks at you and flashes a nasty smile. The story ends with us arriving at Elysium tonight. All eyes are on you again. Take a special interest in one of the faces. It's a beautiful woman with curly, almost blood-red hair and a dress to match. You see her whispering to some bespectacled man with an absent-minded look on his face. Who is she, you wonder? Thank you, Kadir. I take note of this fledgling's behavior and will take it into consideration later. She turns her attention to you. First, there's the matter of your sire. The person who brought you where Kadir picked you up from last night. Who were they? Sire? Let me ask you first, why do you keep using that word? Sire. What does that mean? Under regular circumstances, they would be your patron and the one responsible for your introduction into a society. Things being what they are, however, I would very much like you to know who they are. Indulge me. Man, if I got $1 for every time a Vampire the Masquerade video game starts with you not really knowing your sire, I would have gotten $2, which is not much, but still interesting it happens. I guess it's just a really good plot hook to have a kind of semi-independent character. You find it impossible to decline her final request. Something in her voice makes you want to please her, and you hear yourself speak. An entrepreneur. Acquaintance of my boss, I think. Good looking. Pale blue eyes and some gray in his hair. Charming. Abusive. Cold son of a bitch. You stop yourself from saying more, then realize there's really not much more to talk about. A nagging thought enters your mind. How did this prince persuade you with such ease? Well, Kadir, does that sound familiar? No, it does not. Or at least not familiar enough. I will continue the search after we're done here. You talk to somebody. Am I going to share that? No, I don't really know these people yet. Can I go now? I told you what I know. Can I go now? No, definitely not. What shall I do with the fledgling, my prince? What is your recommendation, my sheriff? The traditions are clear. Thou shalt only sire another with the permission of thine elder. If thou createst another without thine elder's leave, both thou and thy progeny shall be slain. I am ready to fulfill my duty. Stay your hand for just a moment longer, Kadir. I wish to consult my counsel on this. Make sure everyone is in agreement. Of course. He seems strangely relieved. The prince leaves the main showroom, and a handful of people follow her out. You're about to ask this Kadir what all that talk about traditions and councils was when the red-haired woman approaches the two of you. Sophie. Sheriff, I was wondering if I could have a word with the fledgling. What for? She lowers her voice in response. Come now, Kadir. We all know what the verdict is going to be. Let me speak to them. You might not have to stay in your hands tonight after all. Her words grab his attention. His face is hard to read. It's like several emotions are struggling for domination. Anger, sadness, hope, gratitude, resolve. I'll go get my sword. He steps out of the room the way you came, and you're left in the showroom with the woman in the red dress. She takes you aside, and the eyes of the remaining guests follow you. Well then, fledgling, you are in quite the pickle. Yeah, maybe you would tell me what the hell this is. Tell me you're here to explain what the hell is going on. I am. Let me cut straight to the point. Last night, you became a vampire. Wait, what? Oh yes, I'm well aware of how ridiculous that sounds. It's the reason why we have these nicer words for it. Kindred, being embraced, having a sire. The fact remains. The beings called vampires? You're looking at them. They're us. Glance around. Some of the guests are still occasionally looking at you, commenting on you in hushed tones. Many of the patrons are pale. Really pale. Most hold glasses of wine. No, not wine. It's not the thickness. And not the right color either. You're trying to come up with something sensible to say, but you're drawing a blank. It makes a morbid kind of sense. You drank blood last night, there's no denying it, and your breathing has not returned. Your heart remains still. A vampire. Two voices in your head start battling for supremacy. One of them slowly begins to put everything that happened since yesterday together, coming to a conclusion that no matter how insane it might seem, nothing but what she's saying makes sense. The other voice just keeps saying, what the fuck, on repeat. You're surprised. This is often how it plays out by design. Kadia deliberately keeping you in the dark and all. If we do nothing, you will be cut down, as sure as day follows night. But I'm here to offer you a chance. A way out. Under one condition. I will take you under my wing. If you're lucky, the prince will be in a good mood tonight and Kadia's complaints about your behavior won't influence her judgment. This society values docility. She might agree to this, but only if you swear fealty to me. I am not making this offer lightly. As your patron, I will take responsibility for you. Your actions will reflect on me. If they reflect negatively, well, I will make sure you face the consequences. What if I refuse? I believe I know what the prince will ordain, and I'm certain Kadia will do his duty. You, my poor fledgling, will die for good this time. With me, there's a chance you will not. I can be your guide in this new reality. Steps and hushed voices can be heard from the side room. It seems the prince and her council are returning to the showroom. Kadia appears from downstairs as well and starts walking towards you. When you hear the verdict, ask to be spared. I will intervene. Remember my condition. She flashes a heart-melting smile towards Kadia, who does not smile back. The sheriff's immaculate suit is now complemented by a curved, oriental-looking metal scabbard fastened with a colorful sash around his waist. It would look vaguely ridiculous if it wasn't surprisingly intimidating first and foremost. Kadia takes his place next to you and observes as the prince takes center stage again. Loyal Kindred of New York City Camarilla gathered here tonight. I have made my decision regarding this fledgling. Their behavior since being embraced has been disagreeable, and that does not bode well for them becoming a valuable member of our society. You're all keenly aware that these nights we need to close our ranks and trust the wisdom of our elders and their traditions more than ever before. As our trusted sheriff pointed out, there can be only one course of action. Although I acknowledge some of my council's divergent opinions on this, she takes a look specifically at one of the people who left the room before, somewhat plainly dressed, shy-looking man, whose skin has a somewhat healthier tone. He bows his head in deference. I hold the final authority over this fledgling's fate, and I declare that while their embrace might be their sire's responsibility, in their absence, it is their progeny that shall be punished. The sentence is final death, to be resolved presently. Kadir? You hear a scraping sound and see the sheriff has unsheathed his curved sword. It is beautifully detailed blade, which you expect must be worth a small fortune. Its apparent sharpness makes you freeze up. 2 outs, bottom of the 9th. His quiet mumble is audible to nobody but you. As his eye meet yours, you note just a hint of sadness in his countenance, one that quickly vanishes to give way to grim determination. Oh, well, hello there, Evan. You're joining us right at the moment as our fledgling vampire might be about to get killed. That is, unless we do something about it. And he's out too bad. You will not get another chance to speak up. Okay. Got this thing going with Sophie. If I ask for mercy, she's going to intervene. There's no way I'm getting out of the gallery. And if I remain silent, I have a feeling this means game over. And that's not where we want to go in this choose your own adventure. I think Sophie is my best bet. Let's ask for mercy. You make your choice. Spare me. Please. Don't make me back, goddammit. Prince, if I may ask you to stay to share his hand for a while longer? Kadir looks at the prince, awaiting a response. The sword is still hanging above you, threatening to fall at a moment's notice. Is there something you'd like to say, Miss Langley? Yes, if I may. At first, the prince looks somewhat annoyed at the distraction, but she stays quiet for a while, measuring the mood in the room. The bored elite suddenly look at you with aroused interest, some of them dismayed at not seeing the bloodshed, but all intrigued by the unexpected twist. The prince nods. Well, let's hear it. Sophie takes a few steps forward. All eyes are on her now, but Kadir's heavy hand on your shoulder makes it clear you won't take advantage of the distraction. My prince, while the traditions are clear, I believe that the proper context should be observed in addition to the letter of the laws. This fledgling is a burden, but with proper guidance, they could become an asset to our domain. And I understand you are volunteering to take this unruly child under your protection? Yes. I am willing to give them a chance and prove to the entire domain that they can adhere to our expectations. I would take nothing less than their full cooperation, naturally. Whispers can be heard again, an incredulous voice or two, a hushed, just behead the fucker, some suppressed exclamations of surprise. Silence. I ask all of you to make a note of this moment. I might be persuaded to bend one tradition in this child's favor, but another one will have to be enforced even more firmly in its stead. Until thy progeny shall be released, thou shalt command them in all things. Their sins are thine to endure. Are you certain that's a responsibility you wish to shoulder, Miss Langley? I am willing to guide this fledgling and add a valuable ally to our sect in time of need, yes. But I would like to receive the right of destruction over them, if it pleases you. Well, she kind of made this clear when she talked to us earlier that if we fuck up, she's dealing with us. So saying this wasn't part of the deal kind of means that we didn't fully understand the deal, in my opinion. I could remain silent, give me a chance to prove. I'm not really sure if it would help me, but it fits the character as I'm playing them so far. I'm going for at least voicing my opinion on this. I am worth keeping alive, Prince. Give me a chance to prove myself. That remains to be seen. I do take notice of your tenacity. See that it doesn't become a burden. I shall grant you what you ask. Let it be known. Sophie Langley of the Clan of the Rose will become this fledgling's patron. They shall be considered like sire and child. Oh, cool. So me, Aventru, is getting adopted by Toreador, a Clan of the Rose. Miss Langley will take full responsibility for them, and I grant her the right of destruction, if she sees fit to use it. Let my intentions be clear, however. If I am to turn a blind eye to one of our most important traditions on this occasion, I expect it to be beneficial to the Camarilla. Substantially so. I hope you find this verdict satisfactory, Miss Langley. Of course, Prince. Thank you. Very well. She turns to you. What is your name, child? Shouldn't I use a nickname? Hey, you're all using all these weird terminology here. Why shouldn't I use a nickname? Have a chance to use it. That's a legit question, that one. Because Kadir told me that I'm probably never going to see the people again that I know. Given how hard you've been trying to kill me, I wonder if you're going to have a chance to use my name at all. Kadir visibly tenses up at this, and so does Sophie. The prince remains unfazed. I have no obligation to call you anything, dear. But I might start using your name. Her voice takes on a husky and irresistible tone. If you would be so helpful as to share it with us. You blurt out your name, wanting nothing but to please the prince. Amanda. A mirthless smile appears on her face. She nods. Welcome to the Camarilla, Amanda. Oh, cool. Well, we have a dictionary. Okay, that's one of the icons on the top here. So we have the Camarilla, a major sect of vampires devoted primarily to maintaining the Masquerade through influence and manipulation of mortal society. Cool. Really helpful for people who are not familiar with this setting. And good to know. We can always read up on that. Now, this evening proved to be more eventful than anticipated, but with the fledgling's fate decided, I believe our meeting here can conclude. So that's also now been added to our dictionary, but a fledgling in vampire is basically a young, freshly turned vampire, or like they call it, embraced. We are a fledgling currently. Thank you all for appearing on such short notice. Give my regards to those who couldn't make it. Kadir, a moment of your time before I let you return to your duties? Of course, Prince. Now, the Prince is the title for the ruler of a domain of the Camarilla. And a domain is usually a city, like, for example, New York. Prince is a gender-neutral term in this world. So no matter the gender of the ruler of a Camarilla domain, we call them a prince. He shoots you a sonic glance that doesn't leave much space for interpretation. You will be watched. You will be judged. And if need be, you will be punished. The two of them leave the gallery. Well, Amanda, I think we've both already managed to significantly improve each other's evenings. Well, let's keep the ball rolling, shall we? I think we should have a toast to a new fruitful partnership. She raises a hand at one of the well-dressed concierges who have now reappeared in the showroom to refill the guests' glasses. The conveniently handsome man approaches with a carafe of red liquid. Memory of throwing up in the safe house is still fresh in your mind, and the idea that it could happen again is almost enough to reject the drink altogether. But there's no denying it. You want it. Need it. I remember what Kadir said about your misadventure before getting in the car. Some of us have more delicate palates than others. Try to take a small sip, s'il vous plaît. He pours it into 2 tall glasses. You can barely wait until he hands you the drink. Your attention is fully on it. The fact that it's blood, you're certain of it, doesn't faze you this time. It's difficult to take just a sip. Even though the taste is as foul as before, you're tempted to down the whole glass in one go. You wait before taking a second taste. You're glad you did. A feeling like heartburn signals that you can't keep it down. You spit it back inside the glass. Sophie looks on, intrigued. I'm not surprised. NYC caterers have a very bourgeois ideas about what good blood should taste like. Well, you just need to keep trying. Sophie's request, the concierge serves you 3 other varieties of blood. The first 2 are as horrible and indigestible as before, both ending up back in the glass within moments of tasting them. Before the 3rd try, you're almost ready to throw the glass at the wall in frustration. But finally, this one's different. Instead of mud and decay, a surprisingly rich bouquet of tastes. You feel blissfully at ease, and Sophie takes notice. Ah, there it is. Jacob, would you kindly let us know who the donor was? Leave the bottle, please. The concierge nods and leaves again. You take another sip and another. You empty the glass. The dull feeling in your stomach and head starts subsiding, but you still want more. Sophie pours you another glass and refills hers. She takes a sip. You have a curiously specific taste, Amanda. Is it the clover notes, traces of caffeine, or that bittersweet aftertaste of melancholy? You taste nothing of the kind, but it doesn't matter. It's tasty, but not as delicious as it was last night, not as intoxicating. It manages to silence the hunger somewhat, though. Yeah, well, the hunger, I think that explains itself. That's what we as vampires need to deal with. We're always craving the blood of the mortals. Drinking blood puts you at ease. It is a strange realization. A man named Jacob comes back with a small card and leaves it with Sophie. She takes a quick look and passes it on to you. It's somebody's medical details. Office worker, male, Caucasian, 32 years old. Blood type ABRH+. Blue eyes, brown hair, no history of substance abuse. New Jersey native. Might one of these details be what makes the difference? Now that we have picked the right bouquet for your palette, these documents should be useful in identifying your exact taste. Should they be 0RH negative or Joise boys? Jersey? Joise? Is that a fancy way to say Jersey? Joise? Joyzy? Oh, Joyzy. Oh, it's the accent. Joyzy. New Jersey. But I believe you have more questions, no? Perhaps we should start with those related to sustenance. Joyzy boys. Joyzy boys. Joyzy. One day I'll be in New Jersey. So, how will I know what I can drink? It's a tricky question. I believe we would just have to trust your instinct on this. With time, you should be able to narrow down your particular preference. Blood that you reject is, of course, of no value to you, and it's a horrible waste. No amount of it will ever sate your hunger completely, but every little sip counts. If you're frugal or forced by circumstances, you can survive many nights without a single drink, but it's risky and will tempt the beast that is part of a curse. So, the beast is this kind of inner demon every vampire has. And the more hungry they get, the more their choices are influenced by this beast, this inner voice that is driving them to do anything they can to drink, to feed, and to hunt. This is, in my opinion, a part of the game that is way better represented in Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition than in previous editions of it, where in older editions, your character had a blood pool, and the lower it got, every time you did something, you would spend some blood points, and the lower you got on blood points, there were implied risks that your beast would get more dominant, but there were not many concrete mechanics for that. In Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition, V5, they've replaced the blood pool with hunger dice, where the hungrier you get, the more dice in your dice pool get replaced by hunger dice. And when you fail a roll and you roll badly on the hunger dice, you have a messy critical, meaning you have a bestial failure, meaning that the beast is making this failure even worse. But on the other hand, if you critically succeed, but you also have critical successes on these hunger dice, then you have a messy critical. Your beast completely relishes the fact that you succeeded and is going to be in the driver's seat. I think the V5 has a really good interpretation there. I think it can be fine-tuned a little, and it also means that it's risky to have players roll too often because then it can feel like their beast is way too influential. But I really like it. It's a great step. My favorite bit about V5. What will you expect of me? Working for me. I wish for a servant. The easiest way to achieve that than risking the prince's chagrin at Elysium. I can see potential in you that would have been wasted if I hadn't spoken up. Not to mention, it would pain me to witness a senseless final death. It always had. That said, I will require that you defer to me in all things. But me being your mentor and superior also means I shall treat you as my loyal retainer and understudy. With me, you can go far. Isn't that what they all say? Without me and proper guidance, you would have become a clear danger to the Masquerade. That is why, with your sire gone, the prince wanted you out of the picture too. The concierge returns, asks for permission to intrude, which Sophie gives with a polite smile and leans in to whisper in her ear. You note that the gallery is now almost empty. Oh, I'm being told that the gallery is just about to close, but we still have quite a lot to discuss. We'll go to one of my apartments. My jalopy is awaiting downstairs. Come. The smile she puts on could tip any negotiation towards her favor. Her words are like honey, and she makes it impossible to take your eyes off her. You are under her spell, momentarily. Okay, we're sitting in a Rolls Royce here, and we will be leaving it there for today. This was a nice little cozy test stream, playing a little bit of Coteries of New York. I think I'm going to do a few more of these before we're actually going to do an Alien Isolation live stream here. If you tuned in for this, hung out and chat a little, thank you very much for dropping by. If you're new to this channel and you're wondering what I usually do, I create TTRPG-related videos here, mostly focused on Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and you can find all my content over on my channel, and feel free to check it out. If you liked this, also feel free to consider subscribing to the channel and checking my content out in the future. Thanks, everybody, for dropping by. Stay safe, take care, and bye-bye.